Frontline with Kortney Kenny, and I'm Tom Parisi, and today we got a great set of guests. It's another episode of your favorite podcast, the Frontline podcast. Hey, it's Tom Parisi. Kortney Kenny is along for the ride, and as far as I can remember, we got both goalies on today, Joe Vrbetic, Tom DiVincentiis. Guys, thank you for taking time out of your busy dinner to join us today. I know we did the team dinner you guys did earlier on in the day before this recording, so thank you for joining. And listen, you guys are in playoff mode. Tell me, sum up the season for you guys. How did everything go? How'd you feel? And Joe, when are you going to get a real trapper?
I don't think I'll get a real one till next year, but I think overall this season it was really fun. I mean, I know for me, having last year my 17-year-old year, being on a not the best team and not winning a lot of games, it made this year, a lot more fun, winning a lot of games. So it was a great experience overall, and I know playoffs are going to be super fun.
Dom, how was your season?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like Joe said, obviously not playing last year due to COVID, coming into this year as my 17-year-old year. Couldn't ask to be on a better team than our team here in North Bay. I think we have a great group of guys, great staff, and I couldn't be more excited to get into these playoffs and continue going on the high streak that we've been on throughout the season. Obviously, we've had a lot of ups and downs, and I think for our team, adversity is something we used as motivation, and I think that's what's going to carry us into playoffs on a high streak.
Joe, just because Tom touched on it, a lot of people, in the stands were wondering, he's got great battalion colors on his pads and his blocker, but his trapper's white. What's going on there? Now, I know a little bit of the backstory, but I want to hear it from the horse's mouth on this one.
On how I got it?
Yeah, what's the story behind that white trapper?
Yeah, so it was just when I was in Montreal camp, I was with one of the head Bauer guys, the Bauer goalie guys. So I was talking to him about, all the different gear and things like that. And he showed me some, he had some demos of new gloves, and he showed me the glove that I have now. And, I thought it was comfy and it was different. It was, different than the glove I had before. So I just tried it. Later that day in practice in Montreal, and I was pretty comfy in it. So he said, keep it, it's yours. So I brought it back to North Bay and kind of just been comfy with it, and, don't want to switch it up. So that's why I still have it.
You know what? If it works, it works. I don't judge. You guys are the first guys to ever have like actual battalion colors on your goalie pads. I hope you know that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's tough to do, but it's still fun to watch you guys. And how is it working as a pair? I mean, you guys split duty down the stretch, pretty back and forth. How do you guys work together?
Well, I think I'll take this one over. I mean, we get asked this a lot. For us both. I think for me, obviously Joe and I have a pretty healthy relationship, like off the ice. We've known each other for a couple summers now. We work with the same goalie coach. So I think our relationship prior to coming up to North Bay was a key factor in carrying over when we both got here for the season. I think for me, working with Joe and obviously him being drafted to Montreal and being an NHL drafted goaltender definitely brings the compete level up for me, and constantly pushing to compete with him and on and off the ice in the gym. And I think for Joe, obviously when you have someone pushing you, you're going to continue pushing, and that's how we both get better. And I think that's why I believe we have one of the best 1-2 duos in the league, constantly just based on competing on and off the ice and competing for each other's spot on a daily basis, which is going to obviously get everyone better, even the players. If we're both competing during practices and it's just a high tempo practice, everyone's getting better. And I think obviously, like I mentioned before, going into playoffs, that's definitely what you need out of your team, is a high paced team, high tempo team. But more specifically for the goaltending, I think that's why we've had so much success as a goaltending duo this season, is due to pushing each other on and off the ice.
Yeah, I think Dom said that pretty perfect. I mean, like you said at the start, having that, relationship before going into North Bay and coming into the season was obviously really good. And because I know, sometimes with goalie partners, once you, go to training camp and then just get to know them, it takes a while to, get to know the person and see how they are. But I think from right off the start of training camp, we kind of, got to work right away together. And all year it's been fun, like you said, competing amongst each other and, getting each other better. I think that was a big part of our success this year. And I could have asked for a better guy to work with throughout the year.
On that relationship, Joe, you've been on before. You were on before you were drafted and said you'd love to be picked by Montreal because growing up you're a bit of a Habs fan. And Dom, we've had you on a couple of times and you're a big Leafs fan. So does that create any friction or anything in the tandem?
No, we haven't really talked about that, so I don't think so.
Yeah, like Joe said, I mean, there hasn't even been much talk about that, so I don't see any friction between that.
That's good, at least. Dom, you yourself, taking home some hardware here this week with the OHL, the lowest rookie goals against average. That's quite the feather in your cap, the Dinty Moore trophy. When that announcement comes down, what does that feel like? I mean, goals against is a big stat, but it's also quite the team stat as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you put it in perfect words. Taking home that award is definitely an honor. Being in my first year in the OHL, not having much experience in junior hockey, to be able to come into the league and take home that award, it's truly amazing. There's a lot of great goalies that have been nominated for that award, and I couldn't be more happy and humble for it. Obviously, like you mentioned, it has to do with the team as well, and Joe. Obviously, without Joe and the team, I don't think this award would be able to go to anyone else on the team. So, like I said, I got to thank the team and Joe for constantly pushing me, but it's obviously an amazing accomplishment for myself, and definitely truly humbled to be able to have that award on my name.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say something, Tom.
No, go ahead. I was still looking up I had a question, then I answered it myself.
Those are the best ones right there. You gentlemen, both you guys have gotten into some game action against the 67s here starting on Thursday, so day after this episode releasing. What's your thoughts here against the 67s? It's just because they're a 7th seed, I don't think it's going to be an easy series by any means.
No, for sure. I mean, with Ottawa, I know they're a really hardworking team, and they have a really good structure put together with their coach. So, like you said, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't really take any teams lightly, and I think especially this year, all the teams are pretty good. So, going into it, we have to play our game and we have to play our best. And I think for a first round, that's they're a really good team to kind of get into that playoff hockey mentality.
Yeah, like Joe said, obviously we both got into some action this season with the 67s, and they definitely have given us a run for our money over the season. And I think, like Joe said, it's playoff time. First versus 7th seed, or first versus 8th seed, second versus 7th doesn't mean anything come playoff time. I think for me and for the team, we all know that this isn't going to be an easy series and that we can't take our foot off the pedal. It's just constantly moving up from here, and I think now the work starts.
So how have you guys been preparing for the upcoming series?
I mean, like our coach said, Ryan Houlihan said, we're just going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing all season. We've had great success throughout the season with our structure throughout the week, with our practices and workouts, and nothing should change as of now. So I think for us, we're just going to continue doing what we've found success on over the season, and obviously playing the same team over a course of the series. There's going to be different things in practice that we're going to work on to make sure that after watching video on Ottawa, we know how to basically stop them. But as the course of the week goes on, I think it's going to be the same scheduling and practicing as it has been all season.
I don't know maybe not necessarily for you, Dom, but Joe, your last playoff action coming with the Voodoos, kind of a couple of years ago, your first year after your OHL draft. What's for both you guys where it has been sometimes, since being in the playoffs, thanks to a pandemic and all that fun stuff. How different of a beast do you think this is going to be than the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, I think every game is going to be tough, and it's going to be a battle, but it's been kind of nice, near the end of the year. I mean, every game has almost been like a playoff game, and so we've kind of gotten used to that style of play. Every game is close. It seems like almost every game was a 2-1, 3-2 kind of game. So it's nice knowing that it's going to be like that, and that we're kind of used to it. But at the end of the day, it's still playoffs, and kind of every game like really matters. You can't afford to lose a game or have a bad game. So it's going to be crucial.
And Dom,
Now, are you guys looking forward to having a full house, as loud as I've heard they could possibly be, behind you cheering you guys on?
Oh, absolutely. Obviously Joe would know more of this than I do, as he's been here, was here last season for a little bit, but so far this season with the fans, it's been fantastic. And obviously come playoff time, I've heard stories that they get louder and louder every series. And I mean, for me, I find that as excitement. I use that. I get goosebumps hearing the fans during the game go crazy. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, the fans have been, really awesome this year, and even every game, it's kind of seems, really loud in there. But same thing with the stories and the pictures and videos that I've seen and heard. It's pretty exciting to see what's going to happen, and when it packs up, how loud it'll be, and it'll be pretty fun and kind of enjoyable that they're all going to be behind you.
Yeah, I can tell you from firsthand experience, it feels like the building's falling apart. So it should be a good one, hopefully. You guys obviously, well, I don't think we've had an episode since, but Central Division champs, that's quite the topic of conversation here as well. So what does it mean to you guys that there's going to be a banner being put up in the rafters, especially for fans? It's the first banner since the first season.
Yeah, I mean, I know before we won it, I think it was just before the Mississauga game when we clinched, and I was kind of telling some of the guys that, when you think about it, I mean, it's not a championship or anything, but when you think about it, there's still a banner, up in the rafters. So kind of whenever we go back to the rink, and kind of, there's always going to be like that banner, up, and you can kind of always just say to yourself, you're part of that team. So it'll be pretty cool that it'll be up there, and knowing that you're part of that team, and kind of reflect on that year.
Yeah, basically what Joe said, having that banner go up, and whenever you go back to the Mem Gardens, or even next season when you're back in the rink after a long summer, and you see that banner up there, you just think about all the great times and memories you had with the team that you played with last season when we won this. And couldn't be with a better group of guys than we have here. So I love celebrating with the group of guys we have. I mean, obviously we're entering playoffs. That's kind of in the back of our minds now. Now we're going for that championship banner and trophy that we should hopefully get. But funny story, during the summer when COVID was around and the rink was being used as a vaccine clinic, Joe and I came up in the summer to hang out with Ben Goudreau, and we came to the rink for a day. I don't know what we were doing, but we went to the rink, and Joe actually turned to me and goes, "Imagine having that banner up there next year." I don't know if you remember, Joe, but
yeah,
I remember that, or I remember when you said that, and it was like, really, like, that's sick if we get that. And then it all came true. And I don't even know if I brought it up to Joe. It kind of just, I was still in a little bit of shock with it, but I remember that we're walking through the rink, and Joe goes, he actually took a picture of it and sent it to me later on that night. He goes, Division champs 2022. And I started laughing, and then it all came true. So that's a funny little story I got there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
What was the feeling like in the room with the guys after that win? Business as usual, or could you actually take some time to enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit more time to enjoy. obviously with that game we were down 2-0, and then came back, and then pretty exciting overtime, and then shootout, obviously. So I think it was definitely, with the overtime and shootout, it was maybe more of a exciting win and than a regular time game. But obviously after that, all the guys were really excited that we did it, and that's something we really look forward to, and something that we battled with Mississauga the entire year. And yeah, it was really awesome to be there with all the guys after.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was definitely a time to celebrate. It's been a long season, and obviously with all the COVID things and having no fans for some time, and a lot of things that we've all never really experienced before, and having the season with all the ups and downs, it was definitely a time to celebrate. I think obviously we celebrated that night. We celebrated maybe the next day. We were still on the highs, but I think it was definitely a proper time to celebrate, and kind of now we have to get back down to reality and understand that we got to just keep climbing from here.
Joe, I wanted to ask you about that game and that shootout. The second shooter, Del Belbaluz, he fooled you pretty good, but you got over to stop him. What's going through your head when you make that stop? Because on the broadcast, I couldn't say anything because my mouth just like dropped. I was like, "There's no way he stopped that."
Yeah, I mean, he came in pretty slow, and kind of was a lot of stick handles, and I know he got in pretty close, like just over top of the crease. So I think for me, it got to a point where it was like, the next side he goes to, I kind of have to kind of go there and slide over there. And then I remember when he went the other way after, I was just like, I don't know, it happened so fast, obviously, but kind of just used my long legs and stuck the one out there, and I was going the other way, but my leg, I hit the post with my leg, and I don't even remember feeling the puck hitting my pad. I just remember as I spun around, I like saw the puck in the air, so I knew it didn't go in the net, and I was like, thank God, like it was pretty close.
Definitely helps with those long legs, that's for sure.
From the bench and being a goalie yourself, watching that, Dom, what goes through your mind when he makes the stop like that?
Well, I mean, for me, it was I was sitting there and kind of like disbelief. I was like, wow, like we really just did it. And Joe played fantastic that game. So I was like, I didn't even have words to say. I didn't even know what to say. I couldn't believe, one, he made that save, and two, that we just actually won the division as our team like that in a game where we went down 2-0 really early in the game. And it was kind of like just hearing the fans erupt and seeing Joe go crazy and the whole team just jumped the bench. I was like, I was speechless. I didn't even have anything to say.
Joe, what was it like? You went from being the worst team in the league to the second best in the Eastern Conference. I mean, talk about that kind of journey with the rest of your team. What's it feel like to get from such a low to such a high?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, obviously it was, it was a tough year that year, and kind of, struggling to win. But obviously at the end of that year, we had a coaching change, and Ryan Houlihan came in, and, we were starting to win. And I think if COVID didn't hit, then we had a good chance to make playoffs, and I think we could have. But ever since then, just kind of, even during the year of COVID, having Zoom calls together and just kind of preparing for, a season like this, because we thought we had the team to do it. So coming into this year, having all the guys we have, and, everyone's really improved throughout the year, and it's been super fun, division champions and being second place. It's, I even remember, I think I said to Dom too a few days ago, like it's almost it feels weird like losing a game now, because it's just you're so used to winning, and we've been on a lot of streaks, whereas last year it was pretty, we kind of celebrated like we won a championship after each game last year, because we didn't win too much. So
yeah, it's kind of weird to look back on that and be like, wow, I remember that game in February where you guys like just before COVID, where you guys like beat Ottawa, and Ottawa was the team to beat at the time, and now you're facing them as the second seed and they're the seventh seed. So quite a weird 180 of circumstances here. It's really strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what, we'll take it. We're pretty excited. I'm sure you boys are as well. So we thank you so much for joining us again on the front line, the pair of you. Looking forward to having you guys on again, but we know you're going to be busy here hopefully over the next couple of months, so we're going to let you guys get back to your games here, and good luck starting Thursday against Ottawa, gentlemen.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us on here.
Anytime, guys.
We say thank you to Dom and Joe for coming back on the Frontline podcast, giving us their own playoff preview and some insight on just being a goalie, first off, which is always interesting to us anyway, and what it was like to clinch that big playoff spot and playoff win, or if you will, like, just clinching it all on home ice. And, we were talking just off camera before we hit play again, Kortney. They didn't even use Joe's save for the save of the night.
No, it was
honestly,
it was ridiculous. So if you're just joining us now, which I don't know why you'd pick the middle of the episode, we're not as interesting as our two guests. So, I mean, thanks if you are, but asking Joe about his second shootout save, not the one that won it. So the circumstances, Russell just went down, scores his shootout, what would prove to be the shootout winner. Luca Delbel Belouz, who's been a thorn in the side of the battalion all year long, he's coming back down, and he's going to be taken. He's going to get a good chance of being taken in the NHL draft. He's a great player. I tip my cap to.
He's going.
Yeah, tip my cap to Delbel Belouz, as much as it pains me to say so, but he's had a heck of a season. But he comes down, fakes Joe one way, goes the other way, and Joe's pad comes out and stops him. And Tom Martineau, who's down between the benches taking photos, has a heck of a shot of it. Like, one of the best photos you'll see of this save, because it's just literally Joe's pad in the air and the puck flying up. And it's like, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I called it on the broadcast right away. I said, that has to be, I don't remember the last time we've seen a shootout save as save of the night, because, a shootout's basically, it's one-on-one anyway. So, it's probably going to be a good save, or the guy's going to miss the net, or he's going to score. But that one had to have been save of the night. I don't recall seeing it on YouTube later on. The only reason why I saw it later was because someone else had the clip of it and saved it and had it on Twitter. So I was able to find it that way. And I'll have to dig it up and send it your way too, Tom, because it's just amazing, this save, because you can't find it. Again, you look at the highlights of the game or something, and it's not there. It's like, why is the save not there?
Like, I don't have access to every OHL game, and I'll watch the highlights.
Yeah.
So I know what's going down, and yeah, I would love to see that beast of a save.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about it, and I got to be honest, I was like, what in the name of all that's good and right are you kids talking about?
Yeah. Because I mean, he went 3 for 3 in the shootout, Joe did. And I mean, the last save is still really good as well. But I mean, the one that was like, when there's moments where you're watching a hockey game and the puck's just not bouncing a team's way, and you're looking at it and the other goalie standing on his head, and you're like, this is why we're going to lose this game or something.
Yep.
That save was like, this is why they're going to win this game.
I like that.
Like,
I like that.
It was nice to be on the opposite side of things, because I'll be honest, I was only at games 3 and 4 of the Powassan Voodoo's first round series against Hearst, which they unfortunately lost in 6 games. And so Hearst is taking on Timmins. So I can't bring myself to say go Rock, but I'm sure your dad is somewhere right now being like, woo, let's go Rock. So
he does have season tickets. So yeah, he was pretty stoked. I like the Voodoo. I've always got a soft spot for them. So
yeah,
it's a shame when they don't win.
It is. And could you, the Eastern final against Timmins and Powassan would have been a bloodbath.
Oh, that'd have been just a bloodbath.
Yeah, I would have.
Oh my God. Those two teams always give good games, and man, could you not hate each other more?
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, so game 3, I was back in the public address saddle at the Voodoo's game, and so I had pretty good angle of the Hearst goaltender Liam Oxner, and he had a shutout in game 3. But there was a moment in the third period where like Powassan got like 4 or 5 shots off like in the span of like 30 seconds. And I just turned to Jeremy Love, who does the scorekeeping for the Voodoos, and I said, that's why they're not going to win this game. So it was nice to be on the opposite side of things and be like, Joe's safe. That's why they're going to win this game. And, Kyle Jackson goes down, misses the net. And then next thing, I can't remember who the third, that's how crazy it is. I can't remember who the third shooter for Mississauga was because it didn't matter because of that save in the second one where I was like, my God. And Joe stops the door, North Bay Battalion Central Division champs. So
I think it's awesome. It's well earned, well deserved this year. They played their hearts out. They chased Mississauga for a long time, but I'm glad they're in. And yeah, Mississauga trailed off something fierce at the end because they were running away with the East for a while. And all of a sudden, like they were so stingy with goals. And all of a sudden they let the floodgates open. But hey, I'm just glad they're back in the dance, to be honest, because it's been a long time coming. And they're taking on the Ottawa 67s, who they've had mixed results with this year. I think they're 3-2-1 in the season series, 1-1-1 on the road. And both goalies have featured in those games, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yes. Yep.
So it's going to be a fun one because Ottawa doesn't score that much. North Bay does, but they got Cranley in goal. Ottawa does. They got Will Cranley in net. And man, if he gets moving, if he gets going, all of a sudden it's that much harder. It doesn't matter if you can score all the goals. If he Dwayne Rollison's you're screwed.
Well, and that's kind of it, right? Like you look at goalies and how much of an influence they can have on a series, right? Like Dwayne Rollison in the 2006 playoffs for Edmonton. Like if he wasn't injured game one, Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup champs. I'm sorry, Carolina, but it's happening.
You know what? Probably.
Yeah. But I mean, and even then in like 2003 or whatever, the Wild team that ended Patrick Waugh's career. I mean, him and Manny Fernandez were quite the tandem in that 3-round run for the Wild. I mean, it was their first playoffs ever as a franchise, and they made it to the Western Conference Finals. So,
all the same playoffs. J.S. Shiger.
Yep. No, exactly. That was the only. I mean, the Ducks were good that year, but
that's why the Wild didn't win.
Yeah, that's exactly it. J.S. Shiger was just like, nah, we're winning this, and then he's pretty much the reason. No disrespect to, up front, especially with Paul Kariya and stuff, but he's pretty much like, look at he won the Conn Smythe of that playoff run, and they didn't even win. Like,
nope.
I think no, Leafs legend J.S. Shiger.
I actually got to see one of his games live.
Like with the Leafs or with the Ducks?
They were playing the Ducks, but it was the Leafs.
That's funny.
Jiggy beat them. I think it was 5-3 or something like that.
Yeah. I even though he didn't have like the most celebrated tenure in Toronto, I still liked him a lot. And then the emergence of James Reimer, that's like still a good. He basically almost willed them into the playoffs when James Reimer came up from the mine. Anyways, totally off topic. Wrong bloody team.
So often.
I know. We just start talking about random hockey facts, and we're like, oh yeah, this happened.
But yes, getting back to it, the Battalion are back in the playoffs, and I'm so happy they are. And it starts on Thursday, April 21st, 7:00 in North Bay. And then they got to wait a couple days, a Saturday game, April 23rd at 7 in North Bay as well, before they hit the road for 2 on a Monday and a Wednesday in Ottawa. All 7:00 starts. Thursday, if necessary, back at the Gardens. Sunday, May 1st at 2 in Ottawa, if necessary. And should there be a game 7, Tuesday, May 3rd in North Bay at 7:00.
Yeah.
Right at the end.
Oh, yeah. Right at the end. But so something that this Battalion team is guaranteed that you weren't guaranteed, Tom, is actual 2 home games.
Hey, no, you don't have to rub it in my face.
I wasn't. I'm sorry. I take that back. Please continue being my co-host. But actually, real quick before I get into what I was gonna say, back on the goalie side of things, because this episode is just goalie centric, which is fair. That's totally fine. It's our favorite position in the sport, so why not? I've had a couple of people now where I've talked to where I've been like, yeah, Tom only ever got one home playoff game in his 2 years broadcasting the team. I know we've talked about it before, but if you don't mind, just for some people, like just that way I don't have to repeat the story a million times. Just if you don't mind giving that story quickly.
Yeah, so what happened was the Women's World Curling Championships were in North Bay, so we had to vacate for most of the last like 2-3 weeks of the season because they had to get it ready. And then we had to hit the road because we were playing a playoff game against Kingston. So what we did was we actually couldn't stay in Kingston. We ended up staying in Peterborough because there was something else going on in Kingston at the same time while I adjust my old man blanket. It's cold in my basement. We stayed in Peterborough, and which I like. I love the city. Yeah, we might.
I think it was Peterborough.
Fairly certain we stayed in Peterborough.
Yeah, I think that's where he stayed.
Yeah, I'm getting I'm getting games mixed up because I know at one point we ended up in a hotel in Kingston, but I think that was a game earlier in the season. So we had to drive like I think it was an hour. What's it? An hour and a half, I think, from Peterborough every day.
I can tell you here in a moment.
To and fro back from the arena, and I don't think we knew even like after game 1 where we would be for game 3.
2 hours and 8 minutes, according to my phone.
My goodness, did it ever feel longer? I think it was game 3 that was we couldn't play in North Bay because they couldn't get the ice back to normal. So we ended up having to stay in the gateway city and then the next day travel to Sudbury. Now they didn't make it easy for anybody. Sudbury didn't. Oh, they made that a living hell. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you couldn't broadcast here. I couldn't broadcast from my normal spot. I couldn't broadcast from their home spot. So what happened was the Kingston guy, the booth in Sudbury.
Yep.
So on the left-hand side is where the road guy usually sets up, at least in my day he did.
Yep.
And then their broadcast is right next door in a little booth. If that may have moved.
Yeah, it's now both broadcasts are in that main room, which is really annoying because goals are scored and you're trying to talk over each other because you're within 5 feet of each other.
Oh, and the Sudbury guy on TV is loud and not great at his job, so he's not great. He could do better. He's good at it. I know he's good at it, but sometimes I don't know. Anywho, so the Kingston gentleman who was one of the nice, I forget his name and I wish I knew it, but he was one of the nicest human beings in that particular business. So accommodating and so helpful. So he was off to the right and I was off to the left. And the only reason that happened is because we got to the arena first. So I set up where I normally sit up and just call it a day because I knew it's going to work. But he set up and he had no clue how to get a connection in because on that side there was old connections from years past, and back then the phone lines and internet lines we used were not reliable. Even I had trouble getting set up, and he had all sorts of issues. I think he ended up calling the game on his phone, if I'm not mistaken. And I think 2 busloads of people came to Sudbury to listen to or to do the game. It was sparse in there. They didn't have, I don't think the goal horn was used at all. Thank God, because I hate it. And it was just so it was like sterile.
Yeah.
It's like no one was supposed to be there. Like they opened it out of pity for us.
Yeah.
And it was not fun. And they lost. No.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, they did. They won game 1.
Yeah.
They
lost that series in 5.
Yeah, and then the next game was in North Bay, but the crowd wasn't the crowd was meh. No offense to the crowd, and I love the North Bay fans because they're insanely passionate and loving, but it's like the wind got sucked out of them before they even got to the rink. I guess I think there was about 2,100 in there or something like that. but it just it felt empty too, and ended up losing that game. And that was we went one more to Kingston, and that was the longest game in.
Yep.
You can listen back to that episode and how that one all went down. But they lost in 5, and the last one was a triple overtime. And
Yeah.
that was a long bus ride home. But I believe that was my first and only playoff experience with the battalion. And one of these days it'll have to be rectified.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember going to Sudbury to do color for you in that game. And
That's right.
It was strange because next to us in the TV booth was Greg the Burge and Ranjan Rupal for your TV, because obviously they were broadcasting for North Bay.
I didn't even remember them being there.
Yeah, I just remember looking over and being like, this is weird. Like nobody really knew what was going on. It was kind of a weird environment. And yeah, when you said it's sparse, yeah, there was like, like a cluster of like 5 fans here and a cluster over there and a cluster here, like it was just
I swear they had to like bribe the staff to come to work that day.
Yeah, probably.
Oh my goodness.
They had to keep because at that point the Wolves were out of the playoffs because the Wolves
they were bad.
Yeah, they were out of the playoffs, and so that was basically the only reason why that arena still had ice in there, was because the battalion were coming. And I remember getting to that point at the end of the year too, where we were kind of like, oh my god, they're gonna play the playoffs and they're gonna, like, what's going on?
Well, we hummed and hawed. There was talk of going to Brampton. There was talks of going to Hamilton. I remember there was talks of just playing it all in Kingston. There was talks of Sudbury. I'm trying to think what else. I don't think any of like the smaller rinks like Pelangio or in Powassan were ever considered.
No,
but yeah, there was a few other cities that just came out of nowhere and were quickly shot down. But yeah, we didn't know till really late actually what we were going to do.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm pretty sure they didn't let the battalion use the home dressing room. Everybody had to use road dressing rooms. They couldn't. There was a whole bunch of stuff they couldn't do because Sudbury was being jerks.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So yeah, they weren't exactly thrilled to have us. I remember the media guy was like, "Oh yeah, just set up there." Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, man.
All right, thanks for dropping by. And I'm pretty sure he left after that. He's like, I'm going home.
Yeah. I remember, well, I mean, they didn't really have any players that, like, we didn't need to get Wolves players for interviews or anything, right? So I remember, you know what, one thing I'll say is I've said this a couple of times on this podcast where I don't dislike the Sudbury Arena, but my god, their media room sucks. Like, I mean, it's better than Barry's media room because Barry doesn't have a media room anymore.
It's more of a media basement. Like the closet of a basement.
That's what I've heard. But then this year when we went down to broadcast a game in Barrie, I remember walking around the rink kind of looking for it and ran into Scott Ray, who was doing a quick round before warm up, just walking around the rink. And I said, Razor, where's the media room? And he pulls me over to a window. He says, see that McDonald's across the parking lot? I said, yeah. He said, that's your media room. So I was like, all right, cool.
So I guess you actually weren't that far from it, but yeah.
So I was just like, all right, I guess I remember looking at Derek Lindemann, and I was kind of like, I guess we're not getting a pregame snack. So you know what? We'll hit up McDonald's on the way out of town, I guess. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't miss much.
No,
I can go over the best of the media rooms that I got to see in my time, but that's another episode.
Yeah, absolutely. But back to the original topic at hand. When we were talking about Mississauga and their stingy goaltending kind of falling apart, I look at that 5-4 series just because we're talking about playoffs. I look at that 5-4 series between Mississauga and Barrie as I think Barrie comes out on top.
Hey, that's a tough one. That one's going to be that's going to be a barn burner. May not feature a bunch of goals, but it's going to be such a tightly contested game.
Well, and that's it. Like, if Mac Guzda is back and healthy, I think they win that series. If he's not, Mississauga probably has a pretty good chance of winning. Because if I'm if I'm a Barrie fan, Chartrand, who's come up and played North Bay a couple of times, he's a rookie. He's very new to the league. You don't really know what you're getting. Lalama has not been great against North Bay whatsoever in the few games he's played against North Bay. So if Matt Guzda is healthy, I mean, that guy can steal you a series. I look at Oshawa's goalie, Patrick Lever. I think he can steal you a series. So that'll also be interesting. Will be the 3-6 of Kingston and Oshawa. That'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Because I don't think Kingston has the goaltending. I really don't.
Marilyn started the season great.
Yeah, but he's kind of faltered towards the end. But hey, he is a drafted player for a reason. So if he steps up his game, I wouldn't be shocked. But Lever's been a tough out against the Battalion. Ottawa is going to be tough, and I look at Peterborough. I think there's still going to be a tough out for Hamilton, but that's poor Peterborough. Like there's about a 40-point difference there.
Well, they'll do their darndest, and you know what? All you need is just one series to get yourself going. You never know.
No. So hopefully the Battalion make it a long run here. I can imagine that if they were to make it that far to the Eastern Conference Finals, a series against Hamilton would be very highly entertaining.
I have no doubt.
So hopefully that's in the cards. But it starts, as you mentioned, it starts Thursday, and a Saturday game at North Bay Memorial Gardens is gonna feel weird, but I'm excited to go. I'm excited to get this underway. It's as the Battalion have been saying on their posts recently, the real games start now. I've said it to Adam and Ryan a couple of times too. So, as hate the Yankees, but Derek Jeter was quite the competitor, and he always said there's 162 games of practice before the real games begin. In the Battalion sense, there's 68 games of practice are over. The real games begin now. So it's exciting.
It is. So on that note, we'll see you Thursday and Saturday for games 1 and 2 at Memorial Gardens. We want to say thank you to our incredible guests, Joe and Dom. Check out the rest of their episodes on our podcast as well. They featured highly and prominently, and we always ask Joe about his goalie equipment every time he's on here, and that's not going to stop till he gets a proper trapper. But at least you know the story behind it now. So I'm Tom Parisi, he's Kortney Kenny. And you can listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Music. If you're watching this on your TV, you can catch the full clips on YouTube. And yes, it is a Florida Panthers jersey I bought out of spite. That's a story for another day. We've got our producers, Ben, who produce the podcast itself and their game day broadcasts. And listen up for our whole crew as well. You can find those games on YouTube. And playoff time is going to be even more fun. So I think I've covered everybody. And sorry if you heard my dog snoring during the whole thing. He was just out like a light. I'm Tom. He's Kortney, and this was fun. We'll do it again sometime.